my goal is for any client, say they're buying a condo, farmhouse, or even a townhouse, is I want to give them overall view, 100% transparent understanding of what they're purchasing.
Welcome back to the Farms in BC podcast. My name is Jay Cack, and today we have a special guest joining us today. We have Charlie Rattan from Inspekt Pro Home Inspections. And, Charlie, I appreciate you coming out here because I know in the morning you actually had 2 inspections and it could have been a third one right now, right? But I'm glad you made the time to come out here and actually share with us a little bit more about what you do. I do feel like it's going to be really important for a lot of our clientele because I do feel like this is probably one of the most important subjects you can put into a real estate transaction. So how you feeling, man?
Feeling good. Like you said, things are a little bit busy, but of course I'll always make time to come out and have a good conversation. So like Jay said, my name is Charlie Rattan. I'm the owner of Inspekt Pro Home Inspections, but I don't do just homes. I do commercial buildings and farm properties as well. So I want to say again, thank you for having me out. Let's get into it.
Awesome, man. And, it might be, people might be asking, why are we kind of going into more of the real estate side at this point in time? Because now personally, I've actually had a lot of farm property owners put in just a single inspection, which is the home inspection. And that's really important because you want to be assured that what you're getting into is secure and it's exactly what you're wanting to be. Now, maybe you can explain to us a little bit more about what you do in terms of what a home inspection or your home inspection company actually does.
Yeah, so there's different aspects to a home inspection. Like you said, you do a lot of farm properties, so I also inspect farm properties. There's a lot of aspects of farms that we don't check, like say the soil or whatever you guys are growing. So these are separate inspections. But the most important thing about any type of property is the dwelling that you live in. So this is why it's so important to get that inspected. What my goal is for any client, say they're buying a condo, farmhouse, or even a townhouse, is I want to give them an overall view, 100% transparent understanding of what they're purchasing. That is my goal. I want them to have no surprises when they move in, and that's what I try to do the best to my ability.
Yeah, and my understanding is that you also do buildings, like farm buildings, up to a point. I mean, not maybe like a dairy farm or something like that, but like more so maybe a barn or a shop or something like that.
Yeah, so we do any sort of outbuilding that has plumbing, electrical, roofing system, doors, windows, that kind of stuff. We won't check a shed like, if it's in really bad condition, no roof or no real living spaces or anything like that, but we do check the outbuildings for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, can you tell us a little bit how you got into this industry? What led you into home inspections?
Yeah, for sure. So before I got into this industry, I was actually a commercial electrician. I did that for about 10 years, and any other job I had before that was somehow tied into construction. I did general construction, working on my uncle's properties. He's a builder. Just doing general cleanup, that kind of stuff in my younger years. Later on in life, I did some custom cabinetry, commercial cabinetry, and then went into electrical. So, I've always had my hand in some sort of construction. This is what I like. This is what I enjoy. After 10 years as a commercial electrician, I just decided that there might be something better for me out there. The grind was getting a little bit too tough. I have a family now, 2 little kids. I wanted to make sure I had some flexibility and some time to be around them. So this was kind of the perfect marriage of still being hands-on, still doing the things I like to do as a tradesman, and again, having that flexibility with the family.
That's awesome, man. I can relate because we both got newborns at this point in time, right? So
yes,
just having the flexibility of schedule is really important. And I feel like, I imagine it's probably a little bit easier now in comparison to having the electrical side of things.
Yes, no, definitely. I definitely have more flexibility in the scheduling for sure. If I can't make something, I do have other inspectors that I do work closely with that can handle things for me. So this is also another advantage in this route.
So Charlie, in the world of home inspectors, how do you really differentiate yourself? I know there's other home inspectors out there that we could be using, but what makes you different?
I think the home inspection industry is actually going through a bit of an evolution right now. I can't speak on how things were 10 years ago, but I know that now there's new technologies that we could take advantage of. There's things like thermal imaging cameras, there's things like moisture meters, there's things like drones that we could use for tough to reach roofs. So using these tools gives us a huge advantage, more so than what inspectors had back in the day. I can't speak on experience of what home inspectors did back in the day, but they came from just paper reports to now fully digital reports with all these new tools and technology. So I feel like I came in as a new breed inspector, fully taking advantage of the technology at hand. That's what differentiates me from maybe some guys that have been doing it for 20 years or more.
Yeah, and even on the business side of things, I know you've done things quite differently compared to other home inspectors. I know you're very, very into the marketing aspects, and you really branded yourself in an attractive way and really put yourself out there. In fact, every time I look at my social media, I feel like I'm seeing some sort of inspector post, and it's usually you on there, right? And
Yeah.
In the other realtors' posts. So that's awesome, man. Do you feel like that's actually made a difference for you, or?
Definitely. Social media is definitely a great tool to have. If you're not using social media now, I think you're doing a major disadvantage to yourself and your business. Everyone's on their phones or their computers constantly. So I am doing what I can to make sure they see my brand, see my inspections on their feeds in a regular way.
Yeah, and it's just being top of mind, really, at the end of the day, and especially not just for the clients, but even the realtors, because that's one of your ways of getting leads at the end of the day, right? So, realtors would actually refer to you for their clients.
Yes. Yeah. Realtors have definitely been very helpful.
Now, how important do you think it is that buyers get a home inspection done? Because I know that in recent markets, a lot of people were foregoing any subjects being placed at all. So, they were just going into the homes because that was the only way to get them done without subjects, right? So, how critical do you think it is to get that in there?
I think it's very important to get a home inspection. If you're buying a house that's 100 years old, or you're buying a house that's never been lived in and that is brand new. Like I said earlier, a home inspection is giving you an overall view of the home's major components. So even if I go into a brand new house and I find everything is all good, at least you guys have that peace of mind knowing that we're buying something that's not going to cause us any problems immediately. Or you could go into a house that's very old and I could help you see and visualize what needs to be done to make this house livable and comfortable the way you want it. So it's very, very important to get it done.
Now, one of the conversations we were having beforehand was actually an analogy that you had in relation to home inspectors kind of being like doctors, where you're kind of the generalist, you're finding the issues with the house, you're really getting into it, but at the end of the day, you can't really get into the guts of the house, right? You can find the general issues, and then you have to refer it off to a specialist. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so pretty much, the analogy is right. So you go to a doctor, you tell the doctor you have a problem with your stomach. The doctor is like, yes, there's a problem with your stomach. You need to go see a specialist. So my job is similar in that sense. Like, I'll go into a home, I'll find the deficiencies. I know what the deficiencies are. I could maybe tell you what's happening and how to fix it, but you're always going to need it to be further evaluated by a professional in that field. Like, say if I'm on the roof, I go into the attic and I find, okay, yes, there's some sort of leak coming from this roof. I could say there's a leak, it's coming probably from the shingles, but it needs to be further evaluated and repaired by a roofer. So that's why, we call it a general home inspection. So we just give you an idea of what the issues are and where you need to go to get it fixed.
And I feel like some of the things that you can actually address is the electrician side of things, because
Yes.
you have experience. A lot of home inspectors may not have that background, right? So that kind of gives you an advantage as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's the system that I understand the most for sure. Electrical could be a scary thing, so a lot of people are kind of scared to maybe open a panel or get into some of the wiring issues and look at things. But that's something I'm very comfortable with. So definitely glad to help the clients with that.
Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about was actually the turnaround time. Now, there's a lot of times when we actually only get, or maybe we want to have a really attractive offer and we put in a home inspection clause in there, and perhaps we only have a few days for subject removal. I found that more often than not, you can actually get in to the home pretty quickly within a couple days. But how quickly can you get that report back so that we can make a decision on whether we're going to move forward on that deal or not?
So typically, if you give us at least a couple of days before your subject removal, this is more than enough time for the inspection to get done. That will also include a walkthrough and an overview of the report, and then maybe a couple of hours for the report writing. So within a few hours of the inspection, you'll have all the documentation, all of the reports, images, everything you need to help you decide what you want to do moving forward.
That's awesome because just shows how far technology has come, right? Because we're getting these reports so quickly, and it's funny because I've actually walked through a property with you as well, and you're really getting into the nitty-gritty of things because you're actually showing us in live time how everything is working, how everything is kind of showing up on the heat radars and everything else, and just the technology is mind-blowing that it can give you so much information in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, no, definitely technology and the report writing software has definitely helped advance this industry. From the olden days where people were writing reports on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just one of the reasons why I think that this is such a critical thing to actually put into your reports, into your subject removals. Without it, I feel like you're really missing a really big leverage point as well. Simply because if you, for example, do find something, it really gives you that control to either A, step out of that deal, gives you a little bit of an out. You find something that's unrepairable, something that's really detrimental to the deal, you have an out essentially. But on the flip side, you might find that there's nothing really tangibly wrong with the property. Everything is relatively good. You're always going to find something because obviously there's a lot to discuss in a big home like this. Even a small home, you'll find something eventually.
Yeah,
right?
even in condos, we always find something.
Yeah.
So the way I structure my reports, I have different levels of comments. So I'll have the lowest comment tier would be maintenance items. Then I have things that would need repairs or a tradesman to come take a look at things. I have the red comments, which are the safety and major deficiencies. Those are things that need the highest priority, and those are typically the things that the buyers are looking for to make sure they don't run into a major issue once they move in.
Yeah, and the best thing is that walkthrough at the very end where you're really going into those red deficiencies. You can really go and touch and feel on the issue and get a sense of if this is actually a critical piece or is it just something that we can not discuss at all.
Yeah,
right?
so having that walkthrough at the end is definitely very important. If someone's reading a report only, things might seem more serious or less serious than what they actually are. So having a walkthrough and actually having that conversation in person is definitely very important also.
Yeah, and then I actually have a story from this side of things. We're on the seller side in this situation, and I've had it where we had someone actually present a deal to us that was subject to simply a home inspection and 1 day close, right? So 1 day subject removal. So basically, after that subject removal, we would have been completely done with the deal, right? Which would have been amazing. However, that inspection lasted 6 hours. It was extremely thorough. There was about 220 pages of notes in there, and it turned out that the buyer decided that they were going to walk away from the deal unless they got a certain price point. And you know what? At that point, we were thinking that we were not going to take that price point. It was almost it was a good $150,000 difference,
Wow.
right? So, and we were of the opinion that we were not going to go forward with that. So we let it go. The next day, the seller had a change of mind, and we tried to negotiate a little bit of a better deal. However, at the end of the day, that was the hard number that they wanted, and we decided to go forward on it. And it just kind of goes to show that a home inspector, although it might cost you a couple grand or $1,000 or whatever the cost is, it actually benefited that buyer almost $150,000, right?
Yeah, so of course, usually I don't hear what happens after my report is sent because my job is just strictly to, give my personal opinion on the home's condition.
Right.
But yes, of course, I know that, you could take that report and either you guys negotiate the price off or you negotiate some fixes. So of course, that's at the end of the day, that is our goal, is just to make sure everyone is happy in the situation. Whatever the clients want to do with the report, it's up to them. But yeah.
And if nothing else, it gives you peace of mind, right?
For sure.
So, I mean, even if I've had it where people just move in and they don't ask for any changes or anything like that. They're comfortable with, whatever it is. But that report's a really nice little checklist for you to kind of tackle after the fact when you move into the home. Just little things that you might want that are changes that you can make that are
for sure.
quick and easy, right?
Yeah, so I'm very thorough in the way I do things. So, I will include little things like even doors that need adjustments. So these are little things that the homeowners could do themselves. So I just include those things. So when they move in, they know, okay, this is what I need to do to get everything running 100%.
And even appliances, I was actually kind of surprised to find out that, appliances are typically a big piece of your inspection as well. You actually make sure everything is running in orderly fashion, right? So that's huge.
Yeah, so the appliances, it's a bit of a gray area. Technically, we're not really supposed to inspect these things, but I inspect them just to see how the components are working. So, when I run the dishwasher, I want to make sure it doesn't leak. We want to make sure it drains properly. That's what I'm interested in. When I put the dryers on, the stoves, the ovens, I want to make sure no breakers are tripping. So I'm looking at more beyond the actual performance of the appliances, but I'm looking at the components that run them to make sure everything's all good.
Yeah, remind me to get you into my house because I got some things tripping on the breaker there.
Sure,
So
got you.
Definitely. Now, one of the trends that we're seeing is that because of the interest rates we are shifting into, or we are actually more from a balance to a buyer's market, we're kind of in between that mode. I imagine that's probably a very attractive time for your business because this is the time when buyers have the time to actually do their subjects, be thorough, do their due diligence. And whereas in a seller's market, people were kind of just putting subject freeze. There wasn't much of an opportunity for you to step in. However, I have a little bit of a caveat to that. Now, because of the rescission period, you actually are able to still do an inspection and still back out of the deal if something crazy is found, right? So I don't know, what are your thoughts on the buyer's market versus sellers?
Yeah, so definitely anytime someone can do a home inspection, that's going to be a benefit for us. And it's a benefit for the client as well. Having to put in no offers and skipping the home inspection, that's obviously a very stressful situation, but I understand people need to do it. It's never ideal. So of course, I think that where the market's at right now, where everyone is doing inspections, this is where it should always be. I know it's going to get busier probably. You'd probably know more about that. It'll probably get busier next year. I just hope that people are still able to do their due diligence, get these inspections done, either be after they put in their offer or before, which, I've done a lot of these pre-offer inspections, which is a better idea in a busy market. So just do your due diligence, make sure you have time to get that inspection. It'll help you out in the long run.
That's awesome, man. So basically, I never really thought about the pre-offer inspection, but that's a great idea because it really gives you an idea of what to really offer at the end of the day, right? So that's awesome. I mean, so there's 4, I think, real locations that you can hit them in, market opportunities, I would say, for a home inspector. I would say pre-offer, and then obviously during subject removal is the ideal time.
Yeah.
And then during the rescission period, you actually have 3 days. So say you put in a subject-free offer, you have 3 days to really figure out if this is the right move for you. That might be a really good time for a home inspection. And I mean, it's debatable whether the seller will allow it, but that's the other thing, right? So, and then even after that, say you're completely done with the deal, you've moved into the property, it's a really good time to get a home inspection to make sure you tackle all these things that you want to be great in working condition for your family, right?
Yeah,
so even after the fact.
So I call that like a home maintenance inspection. So during that busy time, I did have a lot of people that called me after the fact, after they moved in. Like, hey, look, we bought this house. We had to go subject free. Can you just give us an inspection? Tell us what we need to do. And, unfortunately, I did do some of these inspections and I'd find some major deficiencies that these clients had no idea. One being like, say, the roof needed to be replaced. A lot of homeowners don't understand things. When they're buying a property, they get emotionally attached, and I get it. So that's why it's always important, have someone that comes in that doesn't have an emotional attachment to the home or to the transaction. My job is strictly to come in there, look at the house, make sure you guys understand what you're buying, and that's it.
Awesome, man. So that really concludes things because, I mean, even for our farmhouse owners and prospective buyers, it's a great contact to be able to reach out to you and get that all done, whether it be in the beginning or at the end. I think it's a must, one way or another. What's the best way that people can actually reach out to you and get something done?
So, you can definitely reach out to me on my website. It's InspektPro.ca. That's Inspekt with a K. So INSPEKT pro.ca. Also, you can reach me by email or you can message me on Instagram as well at InspektPro.
Awesome, man. I appreciate your time, eh? Thank you so much.